Welcome to a new episode of the Pinnacle Combat Sports Podcast. I'm Jim. And Dan, it's been a while. How you doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing well. How about you, man? It has been a while.
I'm good. Yeah, we took a little hiatus there. The last one we recorded, I think we were in Vegas in October. So it's been a couple months, but we're pretty much through the football season now. It's just been tough to, with football, and my girlfriend has the weekend, or at least Saturday off, so it's tough for me to watch the fight nights and all that sometimes. But, it was kind of good to have a little break there. We did it every week for a while, but I don't know. How you doing, man? Everything good?
Yeah, you feel refreshed, too, when you take a little step away from it. You could always do it in seasons, or we could kind of figure a time. I mean, you figure the time that we kind of take a break was perfect, because there was a solid, whatever it was, month or so with no fights. So, I mean, obviously we extended it, but it was a good time to get a little break. We'll feel refreshed, feel a little better talking about these fights.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I agree with you.
But I'm really looking forward to what's coming up.
Yeah, and
February.
I think from here on out, I think we'll just do big events if that's cool with you, like pay-per-views, and like we were just talking about before we hit record. We'd like to do that Saudi Arabia one coming up in 2 weeks. But it's just the fight nights are tough for me to watch because I don't, like I said, the girlfriend's off on Saturdays. So we usually go out and do something Saturday nights, and then I have to catch up and try to watch the fights, and then there's all kinds of other things going on during the weekend. So it was just a bunch of times when we were doing episodes where I just, I was like, well, I don't really have any input on these fights because I didn't watch many of them.
You do feel bad, and I know not a good start for the first one to come back to, but there are some prelims that I missed as well, like this weekend, just because, like I was in Michigan visiting family, and it's like, it is tough to watch every. I've always been so good over the years, but it's like it's just life is. You're busy. It's hard to catch up on all that, but I kind of like what you said, do all pay-per-views, and then bigger events, kind of like you said. When you say bigger events, you're pretty much speaking to the Abu Dhabi and those type of. The cards that start in the middle of the day too is kind of nice. A little easier to do recaps on as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But we're just gonna do the best we can. We're doing it for the love of the game, dude. We don't have MeUndies and Blue Chew sponsors, dude. We got nothing, dude. We're just a couple guys that love fights talking about it. That's all.
Yeah, we're just free balling here.
That's it. Spitballing. That's all I've ever been able to do.
He was throwing shit at the wall every time we come on here.
Hoping it sticks. It usually doesn't. We try.
Well, with that said, there's a little bit of catching up we got to do, and we won't talk about everything that's happened over the last couple months. But one thing I did want to just touch on for a couple minutes is only because we talked about him so much in the past episodes is Jon Jones versus Stipe. It was a huge fight, that huge heavyweight fight. I think Stipe hadn't fought for 4 years. Jon Jones had fought once in the last 4 or 5 years as well. And we just didn't, we hadn't seen Jon Jones in a while. So we had a lot of people, including myself, had a lot of criticism about that. And, Dana White every week's talking about how he's the GOAT and all this stuff. But I will say it right now, Jon Jones looked great in that fight. He looked like the GOAT. I don't know. What do you think? What did you think about that fight, and how did you think he did?
It's that finishing sequence too, because people always say like, oh, he doesn't have knockout power, this and that, but it's like he stops people, and it's almost like he plays with his food too much, and he fights so well and so safe. It's just he uses all his gifts so well. But that spinning back kick, that the finishing shot on Stipe, is like, dude, who else can do that to Stipe? In any point of either anyone's career, Stipe or anyone's, because they'll say Stipe was 42. I'm like, well, Jon Jones isn't that young. He's 37, 38. He's been around for so long. People forget. It's like when he was beating all the other, that whole wave of those legends, they're like, oh, they're all washed up. I'm like, no, they're all dangerous, and they all bring a specific skill set. You know what I'm talking about. All those names he beat, maybe they're towards the end of their careers, but what he did to everybody and he continues to do. So you just kind of wonder what's next for him. If it's, do you take this last big money fight? He's gonna get paid for it, dude. He has to.
Yeah.
He has to. But this is a scary fight. There's no one like you've fought before.
Yeah.
Because as much as Stipe's had a great career and he's an amazing fighter, Tom Aspinall has different skill set. In any point, you take Stipe when he was 30. It's just Stipe was great at what he did, but Aspinall brings a whole different set of skill and danger to a fight against John Jones, especially at this point of his career. And it sounds like I'm saying like, oh, he doesn't want to fight him, or it's not going to happen, or Aspinall can beat him. I still think John Jones beats him. John Jones probably weathers the early storm, drags him somewhere where he's never been, and beats him. That's what John Jones will do to someone that's the thing when someone's kind of a victim of their own success, right? Like Aspinall. It's one of the perfect example. He stopped so many guys. You've never really seen him in a third or fourth round fight where it's, entering the fifth, it's 2-2, or entering the third, it's 1-1. Like, you don't see that many scenarios that Aspinall's been in. So it's tough to learn that first one when you're fighting against a guy like John Jones. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
What do you do with that? Like, that's why I always say it's good to take a loss on the way up to a title, and for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be hashing out those type of things for the first time ever in a title fight. You'd rather have been there, seen it, and kind of like know what to expect. Doesn't mean you're going to be able to. Kind of like we'll talk about it coming up, like this weekend. I felt like that's what it was with Umar and Merab. Umar's never seen something like that.
For sure.
Like that, just someone who's just absolutely like rabid. Like he doesn't care if he doesn't get the first 8 takedown attempts. He's going to shoot 8 more times, and he doesn't have to worry about his gas tank. So we'll get to it, but it's like, but back to John Jones, man. It's like, we say it so much. He's incredible. It's like there's nothing else you can really say. It's just,
yeah.
And the Trump dance was pretty awesome. That's pretty.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah, I had to say it because I know I gave John Jones a lot of shit because of all the, obviously he has a stellar resume. But I still do feel the last 5 years of his light heavyweight career there was a little, I don't know, it just wasn't the same. I wasn't too worried for him in any of those fights. Sure. That doesn't mean they weren't dangerous and they could have won. I don't know. I'm just seeing guys now like Makhachev, we'll talk about later, that are just they'll take on anybody. There are a lot of dangerous guys, which I think is why the UFC puts the lightweight champion at the number one pound for pound, because that's the deepest division.
Schedule.
Yeah, strength of schedule is a big deal, right? Like, who are you fighting every time? Are you fighting? And I still think light heavyweight's probably the weakest, or one of the weakest divisions.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just have to give credit where credit's due, and I'm honest, man. I'm a purist, and we've talked about this, but I have to give credit to John Jones. He looked great. I wouldn't say Stipe looked like the best Stipe we've ever seen, but I don't want that to take away from how great John Jones looked, because he was phenomenal. So yeah. Sure. But there was some other things I wanted to touch upon before we got onto UFC 311 from this weekend.
And real quick, Jim, before we move on, it's almost one of those things too when you're looking at Stipe. It's like, well, 5 to 7 years ago, would he be better off fighting that version of John Jones? Because the word was John Jones just mopped the floor with heavyweights all the time in the gym. So I don't know. I think it's just that's how great he is. Like obviously he was older, but it's just one of those things. I think it's just I don't think it's one of those scenarios, like it's kind of like that Jordan effect where it's just like you're in the wrong era. If you wanted to be number one, you're in the wrong era. That's, but.
And actually, this is a great segue to what I'm about to talk about next. I hate what ifs. No one likes what ifs. You always talk about these super fights and, well, what if John Jones fought him 5 years ago? Or what if John Jones fights Tom Aspinall? Like, Well, there's only one way to find out, right? Just let's go. Let's make it happen. Which brings us to the next subject. Canelo Alvarez and Bud Crawford. They're talking about it. They're talking about Mexican Independence Day weekend. That is one boxing event. I don't care what else is on the card. We're getting that event. I don't care.
And what weekend does that fall on? Mexican Independence?
September. I don't know if
Is
it
it,
says here. It's in
it's
September.
right around Labor Day, right? Yeah, okay. All right.
I
We
think
should
it's
do something for that. That'd
mid-September.
be cool. That'd be
Mid-September.
a cool trip.
I think they're talking Vegas.
All right, we'll go.
Tickets are going to be crazy for that.
We'll just book it.
Just book it. Book it now.
Oh, not like not even tickets for it. Just we can do like a trip around it.
We could do something. Yeah, maybe we'll see. We'll figure it out. But yeah, what do you think about that? Just a couple minutes on that. What do you think?
It's a fun matchup to think about. You wonder if is Canelo going to be too big? You just don't. I don't know enough about. Like I kind of wonder someone who watches all the boxing events, major, just very in tune. I wonder what they think about that matchup.
Well,
because it intrigues me for sure.
Someone here says no signed contracts yet, but Canelo Alvarez, boxing's top star, and Terence Crawford are primed to meet on Mexican Independence Day weekend in September if all is finalized. And as Crawford said all along, it would take place at 168 pounds with no rehydration clause.
All right. I mean, you got to level it out somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. 168. I wonder what he naturally walks around at because it can't be much more than that, if that. I wonder if he has to put a little on. Man, he's incredible. So it's just one of those things. Like, I'd gladly pay to see it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? What's the number one thing that sticks out to you?
Well, just how dominant they've both been up until this point, and there's really, I mean, who else do you want to see them each fight besides each other? I mean, and like I said, this is a big what if fight. If you let this go for another 3 years, then it's not the same. So, I think it's perfect timing. I think. If Saudi Arabia gets involved, the money's there. You just gotta.
Oh, the money will be there, but then involved, yeah.
You just gotta come to the terms and sign the paper, and then show up. And I don't know, man. I just I hate what ifs. They should just do it. If they know what's good for them, sign the dotted line, man. Let's see it. I want to see it.
Such a big fight for Crawford if he can, man.
Yeah, I mean,
win that fight.
From what he's accomplished already, that's just going to be a cherry on top, dude.
Well, he's such a good switch hitter. He's so good from both stances. So I'm trying to I'm going to go back and watch both fighters and kind of really see, because you can never really tell until they get in there. But if someone like that with that kind of footwork, that kind of, it makes for an interesting matchup, if anything, because I just don't think Crawford's going to fight him like most guys do. So, like he doesn't really fight anyone like you would expect. He's just, man, it's fun to think about. That's why I hope they really do make that happen. That I love when there's a boxing match that I'm excited about, because it doesn't happen a ton.
Yeah. They'll let you wait for it.
Yeah, maybe a few times a year, if that. Then I'm like, ooh, I can't wait. Like that'd be one of them for sure.
Man, yeah, I'm really hoping for that. Yeah.
I'm a big Crawford guy. I love that dude. I think he's amazing. So
yeah, I like him a lot too.
I'd root for him.
But back to UFC, there was a couple fights we talked about a little bit before we hit record that were announced this past weekend for UFC 313 in Las Vegas, and that is the headliner is going to be Alex Pereira versus Ankalaev, which has been talked about for many, many months. And Ankalaev is claiming that he's being ducked and all that stuff, but it's actually going to happen now. So that's pretty exciting. And then the co-main for that is a banger, dude. Justin Gaethje is coming back after his fight at UFC 300 to face off against Dan the Hangman Hooker. What do you think?
I mean, that fight alone. You don't even have to tell me the other 4 fights. I'm like, well, I'm going to order that pay per view
Yeah, right.
if those dudes are on it, and then you find out the main event's that, and you're like, oh, okay, this is what do the other fights look like then? It's like, man, if those what is it, March 8th or March 9th, somewhere around there?
I think it's March 8th.
March 8th, okay. Yeah, that's a great matchup because they've been floating that one around. I've heard that rumor for a little while now. It's kind of cool that actually came to fruition because that's a great matchup on paper. It just doesn't seem like is that one of those fights where if you're a fighter's on the card, you're like, man, I don't know, fight of the night might be tough to get now.
Right? Yeah.
Got Gaethje and Hooker on the card, you know.
You better just sign that bonus right away.
I'm I'm excited about both those fights. Definitely Gaethje Hooker for sure. Because title or no title, that fight is just one of those ones that stick out. But
also, that fight's gonna be 5 rounds.
That's okay. That's wild. I don't. Yeah, we'll see if that goes that way.
Yeah, I don't think it needs 5, but
I don't know. Oh man, but hey, I love when they do that more often. Why not? Like if it's these high profile names, these high profile matchups, they're top guys in their division. Why not have these ones that have a little more on it? Why not have them be 5? I think they should just do that with most of these fights now. That should be the new norm. But that's just me. I don't know if that's even feasible, but
yeah, and
I
we're
don't even
biased.
know what you do. Of course, but I don't even know what you do either, right? Like, would you do like, okay, any fights involving ranked guys, just that, or because then that'd be tough. Then you're like, well, what happens if one guy's ranked, one guy's right outside, doesn't count? It'd be kind of weird gray area. So I wonder what would be a way to do it. But I mean, who would be against that? Like, what's worse than the third round ending and you could tell both guys have more to give? That's definitely the case on a lot of those big matchups.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they fight a little different, fight a little reserved. You don't want to you don't want to make mistakes anytime, but especially in these top 5 matchups, title eliminator matchups, you don't want to make any mistake. You make one mistake, you're back to the drawing board. So, but no, I did not know that, and I'm pumped to hear that. That's 5 rounds. That's awesome. That's I wish they would do that more. I hope that's one of the things we see more of.
What do you think about that?
One?
What do you think about that main event? How do you think that's going to go? Because they're totally different fighters, obviously.
They are. I think Ankalaev's probably one of the worst matchups in a lot of ways, because I know they can say like, oh, Pereira can wrestle, he can do this and that, but if it becomes that kind of grappling type fight, I don't see him beating a guy like that. But I think Pereira's so good at what he does, and what I do think is that what I remember Ankalaev when he fought Jan really beat up his legs and was not able to do the same. So if he can't deal with that calf kick, because everyone seems to have problems with it, they all don't. No one talks about it until the fight, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's getting dinged off the calf. Like there's something that Pereira does with those calf kicks different than everyone else.
Yeah,
has to be. Whatever, maybe it's multiple things, but there's something he's doing. Whether it's just his no-tell, whether it's just so quick. If he's really not throwing it for power, it's the placement. Just these guys, Adesanya would tell you too. They kind of have that respect. That they're such technicians, like this. They have to. They do all that bravado, ego stuff, talking bad about each other, but it's like they got to watch each other's tape and go, damn, this guy's good.
Yeah.
Like, he's watched the way both of them, the way they both get shots off, the way they set people up. Half the stuff we don't even see, like even people that watch it as long as we have. A lot of those times, he's setting things up, and we're not quite seeing it because we're not someone who's been a kickboxer. But sometimes you'll see it, but there's a lot of that that kind of just goes by. And then you think of the casual fan, they're not even understanding. Like, why is he punching his body? I'm like, well, maybe he's setting something up. Maybe give it a second.
Yeah, they're just there for the car crash.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, they're like, that's not hurting him. I'm like, that's giving him something to look. So, do you not understand how you keep someone guessing? Maybe you can land something you want to land when they don't know it's coming. Like there's a little, checkers, chess. I think all these mind games that kind of show you what can be utilized with that. Get a guy thinking he's getting something he's not getting, and then
Yeah.
that's what Pereira's so good at, because you see him just poking at your body. About next thing you know, but I
You're
love that
waking
match.
up with lights in your eyes.
Yeah. Oh my god. But no,
And you see it
I like the
also.
fights together.
You see it also with these high level guys that in the middle of the fight when they're surprised by something that their opponent does and they give them credit. Oh, I didn't. That was good.
Yep.
You got me there.
You got me there. Yep.
And I feel like that happens all the time when they're watching tape and they're like, oh, we got to watch out for that. That's pretty slick that he does that or she does that or whatever. Like they know how good these guys are, and like you said, there are a lot of ego driven guys and girls out there who are fighters, but they're students of the game and they know what they're looking for. And yeah, it's just exciting when you have, like you said, a bad matchup, quote unquote, bad matchup for Alex Pereira. And it's just interesting. Like what's going to happen here? There's a lot more moving pieces when it comes to matchups like this. And I'm excited for it. It's going to be cool. And now Uncle Liev can't talk shit anymore because he got his title shot. So here we go.
Yeah, you got it. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll still go. I'm big Pereira fan. I'm always going to go with him.
Yeah, same.
Especially with the body of work he's put together the last few years. I don't know if there's anyone at 205 that I would root against him when they're facing him. I'm just such a fan of him. He does everything, it seems like, the right way.
Yeah, and he's quiet. He's great with the fans. He's a hard worker. He's obviously a great fighter. I want to see people like that succeed. And sky's the limit, man. I want to see him headline some huge, crazy arena with like all the titles on the line. And I think he's one of those talents that you can pretty much build any card around. So that's awesome. One other thing I wanted to mention before we get on to 311 is just because I live in the Pacific Northwest, they just announced a UFC fight night in Seattle, February 22nd. But the tickets are so goddamn expensive. I wanted to go, but tickets are like $270 for the cheapest ones.
That's way too much.
So,
like I was telling you, I remember it specifically. There was we could even pinpoint the exact UFC fight night. If you look up the UFC fight night where Derek Lewis knocked out, I keep having Bustamante in my head, but it's definitely not that. That's an old name. It was a heavyweight Brazilian guy. He was in Strikeforce. I'm blanking on his name. If we could look it up after like the 2000s. But there was a UFC fight night I remember I got floor seats for, and they were 200. So that's why I was telling you, dude, that's crazy. For any seat in the house is 270. I was, 30, 40 feet from the cage, maybe a little more. But you're like right there. It's like, I don't understand where the prices have gone, where they've gone.
Oh, I'm looking it up right now.
Like
Derek Lewis.
Let's see. I'll try to help you so we don't have too much dead air. I'll look up Derek Lewis's record.
Did he win or lose?
He won by knockout. I remember him when he was throwing shots down at the guy that was already down.
And where was it? Was it in Boston?
Vegas.
Oh, in Vegas. Okay.
So it was, I'll tell you right now, dude. Once I see the name, I'll know. Guto Innocente. He fought in the...
Oh, that one. Okay. That was
yep.
Ultimate Fighter Edgar versus Penn finale.
Yep. So that one, I remember the shots that missed him because he was already unconscious, I believe, and the finishing shots missed and hit the canvas. They sound like gunshots, dude. I was sitting there I'm like, okay, so Derek Lewis hits hard. That's okay. Wow. I didn't need that reminder, but I got it. No, they were so loud. But that long-winded way of kind of saying like 270s, pretty wild to be spending for a card where you're anywhere. You don't even have good seats.
Yeah, for way up top.
I got floor seats. Yeah, if you said you got floor seats for that, I'd be like, oh, that's an experience. That's, that makes sense. But you're like, oh, no, 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 I'm in the nosebleeds. Like, why would you even, I wouldn't even entertain that.
Yeah, I don't
Unless
know.
someone you're going wants to.
I'm
Don't even bother with it, dude. We'll go
I,
to one.
I'm thinking about just going up to Seattle that weekend and making a
Hmm.
weekend of it and watching it somewhere up there. And maybe trying to, I don't know if they do that anymore, but do they send like fighters out to bars and like stuff like that anymore? Or, I don't know. Maybe I'd
I
run into
bet,
somebody somewhere, or I don't know.
I bet you they will for that card because they have some Pacific Northwest fighters that if they're not on the card, they'll be around, or they could do something like that. But even if they don't, maybe you go up there and see if you can get like tickets to like a Kraken game or something. And then that if that's reasonable, that way you have like a couple things to go up there for the weekend. I don't know,
Yeah, I
but
don't know. It's been a while
it's a
since I've been.
bummer.
It's been a while since I've been up there, anyways, in Seattle. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But let's get on to this past weekend, man. UFC 311. You said you did you watch any of the prelims?
Only a couple, but I caught them on my phone after. I was pretty much main card on that, and then I watched them again today. Um, let's see. As far as the prelims, I missed the first couple. Yeah, and I saw Talbot. That I'm kind of curious what you thought about that one. Peyton Talbot kind of had his first speed bump
Well, all
because
four guys that had undefeated records lost.
that's wild.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's pretty crazy, right?
it is. Yeah,
Well, let's
that's
start with the
funny.
main event because that's what we always do. What did you think? Well, let's first of all give credit where credit is due to Renato Moicano for stepping up with 24 hours notice to fight the best pound for pound fighter in the world for the light heavyweight champion or the lightweight championship of the world.
Oh yeah,
Um, I mean, hell yeah, man! Like he's game, dude. I
and you,
love it.
dude, you pay Hanato Money Moicano to show up. That boy gonna show up. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's just cool. Like that's all. I think that's all he said. Just pay me. Makhachev's like, I'm the best, so I'll fight whoever. Which is like, obviously what you should say when you're that dude. 'Cause it's like the only dude I think that can give him a tough fight is the guy that unfortunately had to pull, which is also good because we'll talk about it. But people will complain, but I'd much rather have if you're not 100%, or if you're compromised to a point where it's going to make it tough to make it that fight what it could be or should be. Don't do it. Let's do it when you're better. Let's do it when both you guys are better because you two are probably the best in the division. So I want to see, or I shouldn't say. I think Sarukian is the best stylistic matchup
yeah,
against a guy like Islam because he can cancel out a lot of things that people can't, like Poirier, like all those guys that we love. They can't quite wrestle like Islam or even like Sarukian. So Sarukian keeps everything kind of close. He's so good. I just think I can't wait for that matchup for them just to set that up again because there's nothing worse than you can just tell someone kind of wasn't themselves, but you can't prove it. And then you find out they're hurt and you're like, oh, I wish you didn't take that fight because they just don't want to lose that opportunity. But someone like Sarukian should not lose that opportunity. And it's good on the UFC for always having a backup plan. Because I believe that was expressed to Moicano that he'd be the guy, I think.
yeah. Well,
Something were to happen, which they
did
should
you
always do that.
did you happen to see what Dana White said after the fight?
No, no.
Because someone asked him in the scrum if Sarukian would be, rebooked for this fight, and he said no.
Oh,
He said he'd have to fight somebody to get that
okay.
opportunity again. And I don't know, because there's a lot of people online who are like kind of implying, because he had a back injury of some kind apparently, but
Yeah.
there's videos of him like a day or two before the fight, like doing like wrestling, like you go, I don't even know what they call them when you're on your head and you're going around in circles and
Yeah.
he's like stretching. His back looked fine like 2 days before, so people are
You wonder. Yeah.
implying like, did you pull out for some other reason that you're not? I don't know. And if Dana White's not willing to give you another title shot right away, he might think that too, but he's not saying that. I don't know. It just seems something's a little weird. I don't know why.
There could be something. There's always something else going on, but it's like as far as a back injury, you never really know. Like I've been lucky enough to not have them, but I just know that you could be fine one day and the next day you're having
Yeah,
issues with
that's
it.
true. That's true. Yeah.
It's a little different. I understand how like the optics of how it looks, but it's a little different than like someone having a bum knee and all of a sudden they feel better and they're
Yeah.
jumping around. Those back things can flare up out of nowhere with very little warning. So I'm just just playing devil's advocate with it, but that's not a good look though when you see someone kind of
For sure. Yeah.
doing something like that and you're like, oh, he pulled out because his back hurt. I'm like, well, you know, that's I didn't know that, so that it is a bummer. It's funny that I said that, and then Dana White doesn't like that. I don't see why that's not the best and toughest matchup for your champion. So I just don't get why. That'd be like if you didn't have Merab fight Umar. Umar's clearly they're gonna fight again. I bet and Umar probably get one more win and they'll give him that because that's how good Umar is. So I don't love that he does that because I think that Dana he makes a lot of these emotional reactions to things. But then again, we don't know the behind the scenes, so there could be a lot more of that story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I bet you one of those things that probably drives people crazy is when they try to make some type of negotiations after it's been like there's probably a lot of that bullshit behind the scenes that we don't know about. It's just business. It's just dirty. Like it's just not to say that happened.
Like kind of like politics and business and promises that need to be kept and stuff like that. Yeah,
a lot of that. So who knows the true story? So but with that said, I don't think Sarukian's going to have trouble beating most of the people in the top 5-10. So if you have to give him one more fight, put him on the same card or in the same month or two in that stretch, and that way if they both secure a win, that's your next fight. It has to be.
Yeah, I agree.
But what's next for Makhachev? So if you don't give him Sarukian, who do you give him?
Well, the only guy that's right there is Oliveira again, but we've seen that. I know Tapori is talking shit, but I don't know. I can't stand when these guys try to get 2 belts so fast. I'm like, dude, you've only defended your belt once. You're already talking about going up. You got to like clear out at least 4 guys in the division, like 3 or 4 guys.
That's what I think. I think you should just go up. If you want that title to be like that would be my negotiation. I don't care about holding 2 belts at once. I don't care about that because does it really matter if I just had that belt and I go up and beat this dude for that belt? Are you really going to say, be like, well,
and they always drop one.
Yeah, but it's like we can kind of play a game here, but like I am a 2-weight champion. If I just gave up that belt to get this opportunity and I beat that dude, who's really the champion of both? I just had that one, dude. So it's like that's why I just think maybe that's what he could do. Be like, I'll vacate my title. I don't think he's going to be able to make that weight forever anyway. So maybe he's getting to that point where he might be better served at 155. So that can catapult you to a shot that you might not get realistically. Because if you got thrown in that Shark Tank, we were talking about a bunch of different people, especially at a weight like 155. We were talking about a lot of fighters. We're like, oh, that guy could be net. And then he runs into a buzzsaw of some other veterans and just that division. And then you're like, oh, he's nothing wrong with it, but he's just another tough, like great fighter in this division that might never get the title. But there's so many of those cases, right? Especially in a class like 155.
Yeah.
That are just, they've always been around. They've always won big fights. They just have not won a title. And that's no shame in that at all, really. I mean, there's so many fighters like that. Obviously, that's your ultimate goal, but it doesn't like define your whole career. It's, in my eyes, but
yeah, I totally agree with you. I agree with you. And then there are people that are talking about Islam moving up, but he's not going to fight Bilal. So if he's going to move up, he's going to fight Duplessis. And that dude's like
Makes no sense.
Huge. He's way
No
bigger
sense.
than you.
Makes no sense. We're gonna be talking about a fight like, why did Islam gas? I'm like, well, because he's not used to competing at that weight. He's holding on to unnecessary weight. That's probably what happened.
Yeah.
They'll be like, or you'll be like, oh, he looked like the smaller guy. I'm like, it's because he is. So
He's
why are
way
we doing this?
smaller. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy to even think about, you know? But yeah, so there's really no moves to be made. I would say just put Islam either on the same card as Sarukian or on a card where this guy's fighting end of March, this guy's fighting beginning mid-April, and then we can put him. I'm not saying that soon for dates, but like just in as far as how close they are together, put them on cards that are right around the same, and that way if they both win, you know who's next.
And hey, I love the idea of Oliveira and him going at it again. I mean, everyone I think would like to see that again. So I'm cool with that. That's fine. You know.
But let me check it real quick. So as far as Oliveira, the only thing that's tough, and I know this was it was a split decision, and I know some people probably had Oliveira, but you figure in your last two fights you beat Michael Chandler and you lost to Sarukian, so kind of a tough sell. And then two fights previous to that you lost to Makhachev, so like I just don't think there's enough on Oliveira's. So maybe have them fight, maybe have them have a rematch. How about that?
Him and Sarukian.
Yeah, Sarukian, and like if you want to, maybe not, I'm not saying punish him, but if you want to kind of set him back a little bit for whatever happened this weekend that we don't know about.
I like that idea.
And Oliveira fight. They fought to a split decision not too long ago.
And they could do it whenever because no one's injured.
Yep.
Well, we don't know about Sarukian.
Yeah, he could do those little twisty back things, but his back is not quite where it should be. But it's a bummer, dude, because he was looking jacked. Like we were talking about that. He looked so good going in, and we're like, oh, this could be. It happens so much where us poor MMA fans are just pulled from a fight that we were so pumped for. That one was insane. I couldn't wait for that one. But I hope it's not the new Habib and Tony Ferguson, although it did happen already once. But is there a tougher fight than getting Islam Makhachev on your UFC debut? You had a pretty good showing yourself.
Yeah.
But like, that's crazy. I know it's Islam from years ago, but it's like, dude, we all know who Islam was back then. He was like the star pupil, not named Habib in that camp. Everyone knew who he was.
Yeah, for
Everyone
sure.
knew who was given. Everyone knew who was giving Habib the toughest rounds. I'm not saying he was beating him, but I'm saying who's the guy that's really sharpening him. Like as far as the actual bodies, it's probably him. I'm sure there's other names we don't know. But Makhachev, they both made each other great just by being in the rooms together, like training. They both had good days and bad days. So, man, it's a bummer that didn't happen. But I kind of like that one. You like that, Oliveira and Sarukian? That would make sense.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good idea. Absolutely. Yeah. But what about Moicano?
Signed up? Yeah, true. How about Moicano where's Moicano sitting?
10.
Well, 10.
Well, who's been talking shit in the past 2 days is Paddy Pimblett. And he's 13. So I don't mind that. I like
Let's
that.
Do that. But I was going to say get maybe the loser of Gaethje Hooker.
There you go.
But I like that one too because that has history. Moicano's was chirping about him at 1.2, so Pimblett's probably trying to angle for that fight. So I say give it to both of them because that makes for you figure Pimblett's look great on the feet. I was worried about that. His bread and butter is the groundwork. Moicano just got tapped out. He's so much better of a jiu-jitsu guy than he showed an account of himself. That just speaks to how great Makhachev is.
Yeah,
he's done that. He's done that to Charles Oliveira and now Moicano, and they're both phenomenal jiu-jitsu guys.
Yep.
So it just shows you that wrestling pressure. If you can mix that with superior, like great submission grappling. That's a crazy combination. Like a Dagestani wrestling style and a super strong. Like his grappling must be insane because Moicano made one little mistake in his next grab. Next thing you know, he's in a darce and that's it. Which is like something to watch if you're a fighter who wants to be anything. Like watch how these championship fighters make you pay for one small mistake. That's how you become great. It's just you give me one little mistake. And next thing you know, it's over.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be a knockout. It's just he's incredible. His top pressure is something else. And you always wonder, but how about the hypothetical? Like, would he, like Habib and him? I wonder, like, if they ever
that'd
did
be
fight
crazy. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
What a crazy fight that would be. They would never do it, obviously, and they shouldn't, because they're like brothers. But like, it's crazy to think of. But that's just kind of how great they both are. You figure back to back in their eras, they both kind of run, not kind of, they both have run their division, and you do that with anything. You just compare, like what I just don't know if anyone really deals with the pace like Habib puts on people.
Yeah.
Because he's like he's the bigger version of what Merab does, really. Just with much better boxing defense. Because that was one thing about Habib people never gave him credit for. His boxing defense was great. He knew how to keep just enough distance on you where you really couldn't get off on him, and he was right where he wanted to be. Whether he could land shots or get your leg and take you down, like he was, something else. But it's cool to think about, a fight like that.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
But I like what we've devised. So Moicano, Pimblett, I like that a lot.
Yeah, let's put it out in the universe.
Sarukian, Oliveira too, I like that a lot.
I like that too. Oh
Yep.
man. Well, let's get on to the next fight because we got a bunch to talk about. We got Merab. Speaking of pace, Merab. I think a lot of people had Umar winning this fight. I know we both did.
I did. Yeah. I just thought one of the things kind of back to Islam. I was watching with my dad when we were talking about it. Like Islam and Umar, their left head kick is incredible. So there's like very little. There's no tell to it. So quick, and obviously it's powerful. It's just it's one of those perfect kicks. If you were like, how do you think it goes? I was kind of expecting it to go like that first 2 rounds like it did, because Umar he really was kind of not picking them apart, but he was definitely winning the exchanges, and he's kind of keeping them kind of where he wanted to. And I just thought a head kick was going to kind of be the shot that ends it. Maybe not a kick knockout, but like that's the shot that starts it, But Merab's just crazy.
Well, it's so hard to get a head kick in like that if your opponent just keeps coming forward. If you can't create space, you can't hit a head kick, And also, I know, and we got to give credit to Merab for breaking GSP's 90 was it 90 or 91? He has more takedowns ever in the UFC history than GSP now. But Umar was excellent at defending like 90% of those takedowns. Like I know Merab broke the record, but Umar did an incredible job of takedown defense.
He really did.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Let me look it up while we're talking about. We'll keep talking about that. But it was even like that when he fought Petr Yan.
Oh, he had like what did he have? How many takedown attempts?
Like, yeah. So that's what I want to look up because
I want to say it was like 40 or 50.
Let's see,
it was a lot.
49 takedowns.
49 takedowns?
He attempted 49 takedowns in the 5-round fight.
Oh, okay, so that's right on target, 40 or 50.
he got 11 of them. That's kind of like what Merab does.
Yeah.
He's going to spam you with emails in the form of takedowns. over and
That
over and over and over.
that's like our Celtics
Next thing
shooting
you know,
threes.
right? Yeah. Next thing you know, you click a bad link, Jim. Unreal. No, but it's like, dude, 11 out of 49. So you missed on 38 of them.
Wow.
But it's just like that. He just takes so much from you. So much from you. It's crazy. The pace he puts on you. So in that fight, so in a 5-round fight with Petrian, he threw 401 total strikes and he shot for 49 takedowns.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah. I mean, need you say more? Like, that's a crazy pace to put on someone. And then no wonder they're dead tired. Because you could see it, Umar, he was getting worked. They were
Fourth and
ending
fifth
some of
round.
those rounds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't looking good early. So it's just much respect to the champ. But I'm sure he knows Umar will be back.
Absolutely, yeah.
If Merab is champion in the next like year or two, it would surprise me if they're fighting again in around a year or less, because Umar's only going to have to win one. Because I feel bad for who he fights next. Most like he's going to start somebody, and then be like,
dude, what's going through your mind if you're Sean O'Malley watching that fight from the sidelines like he was in that pink robe or whatever the hell he was wearing with those crazy glasses?
It depends. It depends how like I'm sure like everyone can say they're objective and everyone can say that like they think about things the way they should or how they. I don't know. I think you're watching the two best guys in that division fight.
I agree.
And it's like I don't know if there's definitely things you can do. Like, can O'Malley knock both of those guys out some night? Yeah, but I think if they fight 100 times, it's going to be heavily favored to both of them. Yeah, they bring a skill set because Umar with Merab, we already saw that with O'Malley what he did to him, and if O'Malley can't deal with it, the same thing's going to happen. And then you have a guy like Umar who can kind of switch up on you, and if his striking's not working, he can do what Merab does in a way. He's the better grappler. So if you're O'Malley, that's two tough fights, and that's not to talk about anyone else coming up. 135's gotten real fun. That's a great division. It's always been a cool division, but I feel like that division's always had a couple top dogs that have always knocked out the guys surging up and kind of always been the top dogs, if that makes sense. Where it's like there might be a guy, there might be a guy shooting up, but a guy like all these pioneer guys, they kind of just knock them down a peg, whether it be Uriah Faber, Dominic Cruz. They had so many of those names where they ran the division, Garbrandt. They had those guys that would knock other guys down where you're like, oh, that guy might give something to the champion, but he just can't get there. Like Saint Denis, we were big on him when he came in, and it's like, it doesn't mean he's not great, but when you start fighting these top guys, especially at 155, I mean, man, you're going to take some lumps. He's found that out.
Yep.
Like, it's hard to, that's why it's crazy that Umar just lost his first fight. You figure 18-1 now, whatever it is, to get that far with, no blemish on your record. It makes you look at like something like what Habib did, and you're like, damn. Like, granted,
I know. Yeah.
He didn't fight certain guys that you wanted him to, but that's not his fault. He fights who's put in front of him. Some things just happen, and you look back on it, and you're like, man, I wish that happened. But it doesn't take away from the body of work he put out still, He beat everyone who's put in front of him. So
it's crazy, dude. Crazy. It's crazy.
Crazy. And in MMA, be undefeated, that's so crazy. So crazy. There's so much you have to deal with and worry about and think about and prepare for. It's nuts.
Well, let's move on to our next fight. Congratulations, Merab. I'm more high on Merab now. I like him. He gets a little crazy and he talks and he starts trying to fight fans and all that shit. But
he's nuts. He's a wild boy.
Did you see the video of him diving headfirst into the ice? Did you see that?
No, but I want to.
And he cut his head. He went to like a frozen lake somewhere probably in Georgia or something. And he takes his hoodie off and he goes to dive in head first. into a frozen lake, and he cuts his head on the ice. And he's like, "Oh, why am I so stupid? I'm so stupid." And he like puts his
Like,
sweatshirt on his head to stop the bleeding, and he had to get staples. He's
think about the
crazy.
belief in this man. Think about the belief in this man. He thought he could headbutt through like 2 feet of ice into the. You know what I mean? That's crazy belief. When you're like, of course I could.
Yeah, it's just ice.
Not that, don't think about all the scar tissue you probably have on your face that's going to open up as soon as you. Don't think about that, you know. But that's the only thing I worry about him. He's starting to get to. I'm not saying it could be a major, but there's certain fighters that seems like every fight they're in they get cut, and it seems like it's pretty easy.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
you just don't in a 5-round fight. You just never know. That's all I'm saying. Like it could make it look a lot worse than it really is. He's taking these guys down at will. He's putting a pace on them. He's landing strikes. He's doing whatever he's doing. But sometimes it gets to a point where the scar tissue becomes. I'm hoping that's not the case with him. But It seems like every fight he's in, he gets pretty beat up in that way. You just don't want it to be a problem with the judges going forward, because it seems like that's probably going to be most fights are probably you're going to get taken to deep water with him. So
yeah,
be a lot of like championship rounds with him. So what do you think's next for that? Before we move on,
for what? For Merab?
Yeah, is there a guy that sticks out, and then is there a guy that sticks out for Umar? That makes sense.
Well, let's look at the rankings. I know. Well, I mean, O'Malley's probably he'll get one of them, and they'll probably give him the title shot. I would imagine if he wanted it. But number 3 is Petr Yan, Corey Sandhagen. Figueiredo's number 5. So any of those guys, I think Umar should fight Petr Yan. Probably. I think a lot of people are talking about that, and then Sean O'Malley should get his rematch.
I like that too. That makes sense. It seems like that's what's gonna materialize. It just makes sense.
Yeah, but we got other fights. Let's. I think this fight was, besides the Merab fight, I think this was a really exciting fight. Was Jamal Hill and Yuri?
This is my favorite fight of the night.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's the fight of the night, but it was my favorite fight of the. It's definitely my favorite.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Wild. Yeah, and you saw kind of. Maybe 2 guys going opposite directions. I think Yuri seemed like he made some certain adjustments, and he looked like a better version of himself.
He did.
Coming off a loss.
He did.
And I just don't know. Like Hill had success, but I wonder how much of it would be mental. We can get into it. Who am I to say? But I just think when you lose to a guy and you never seem like you accept it, and then you take a fight against a top guy in the division, I wonder where your mentality is. Are you thinking, well, this guy doesn't belong in there with me? Because that's the wrong thing to think in a lot of ways. I just feel like I wonder if a lot of these guys go like, no, I deserve this. I should be fighting the champion. So this guy's less than. It's like to go in. I think that you're not doing yourself any favors by thinking that way. And I'm not saying he is. I just think you have a lot of issues with a lot of fighters that don't seem like they accept the loss and move on.
And you're talking Jamal Hill, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do not think he's accepted the loss and moved on from it.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
And in a way, if he's doing that, which I don't know.
And the reason why I say it is because he might have just been doing these things because it's a fight, whatever. But it just seemed like everything he was trying to throw, he was loading up on. Where I just thought he was the quicker guy. So if he just got more shots off, they don't all have to be a knockout shot, but it's the accumulation, and then you pick the shot. But I felt like he was just throwing everything because maybe he just thought he had a highlight coming, which is fine to have that confidence. But it just seemed like he was overconfident. Maybe I was overthinking it. But when I was watching that was what I was thinking. He seemed overconfident. And Yuri is just like, he's just so weird. He's so weird. I would never feel confident fighting a guy like that. Because everything's not how it should be. It's crazy.
I'm also
Think about
I'm surprised that he didn't take it or try to take it to the ground. I thought he was going to
you
shoot on
talking
him.
Yuri.
No, I thought Jamal was going to shoot on him.
Okay, all right. I see. I don't know. I don't know if I'm way off on it. I thought it just seemed like he had that like kind of aura of him that he didn't belong in there with like he's gonna kind of put a stamp on it. And like you got to do that first. You can't just
Yeah.
say it's gonna have. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's because Yuri's just he's such a weird puzzle. Like because they were saying it in the middle of the fight. They're like he's dropping it. Might not be good like technique wise, but he's dropping his hands because they're hard to see what's coming. And like it's true because like you couldn't see anything. Like he's just so weird. You can't prepare for him. You can't prepare for him. There's no one like him. So that I think that goes a long way too. A lot of these guys, like once you get in there with someone, he's probably legitimately insane, right? Like I'm not saying that in the bad. He's probably a fantastic human being, but there's something not quite right.
Dude,
You know?
all right. So I was just thinking this right before you started saying that. And I was remembering in the fight where he'd get hit by Jamal, like pretty good. You know, he took a couple decent shots from Jamal, right?
He definitely did.
Jamal didn't look bad.
No,
He did okay for himself and all that.
but he missed a lot, is what I'm saying. And I think when he missed, they were big shots.
Yeah,
As opposed
sure.
to, I think if he was putting together, like I thought he was going to knock Yuri out because of how much better of a boxer I think he is. And I don't think we really saw that from him. I think we saw someone who maybe not expected it. Maybe that's the wrong word, but it just seemed like he was anticipating a knockout shot that never presented itself.
But when he was tagging Yuri, it's almost like Yuri is like separate from his body. Like he's telling his mind so much. Like when he got hit, obviously I can't tell what he's saying in his own mind, but every time he got hit pretty good, it seemed like he was telling himself, that didn't hurt you. Come on, you're bigger and stronger than this. Let's go. Like, you know, like almost like everything he did, he was pep talking himself into the next move that he was going to do. Like I could almost like see his internal dialogue happening as I'm watching the fight. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. I saw him punching trees. He's just punching trees in the middle of the Czech Republic in the woods. So it's like, and then you'd be like, Dan, you shouldn't say someone's not mentally. Well, he's definitely mentally well because he's doing well for himself. But that guy's out of his mind. Can we not agree?
Well, to be in the top 3 in the light heavyweight division in like Ultimate Fighting, you kind of have to be a little tapped, right?
But I mean, I want to start if we start meeting more fighters, I want to ask them like, have you been around Yuri? When you're standing next to him, do you feel weird too? Because he probably makes everyone around him feel weird.
Did you feel comfortable like there, or did you feel any energy?
You know when people say they're unique. You know when people say, "Oh, he's one of one." Like, is there a better example? I've never seen someone like this guy.
That's like
so weird.
That meme I sent you. That meme I sent you on Instagram of Shane Gillis sitting next to this hot chick, and he's holding his phone. He's like, "It's a real fucking samurai." That guy right there.
He really is, dude. He really is. He really seems like the kind of guy who'd make a mistake and go, I can't live with this, and just samurai sword through the chest, dude. Like
I could see him diving headfirst through the ice. Honorable.
Yeah, he'd probably break it too. That guy's nuts, dude. He has something like I've never seen before. It's so funny. And the ones that annoy me are the ones that you're like, oh, he's clearly put on an act. He's not really like that. I think this is what you get. Like, I think that's him, dude. I don't think he's that aware to be like, I'm gonna put a bid on everyone. Like, did you see that one I saw?
He's not Cejudo.
How weird was? No, yeah, Cejudo. Then he started double downing on the cringiness. I'm like, dude, you're going the wrong way.
Yeah, or even Kobe.
People are telling you to chill out. Yeah. Kobe's another one. It's just like, what? It's cute for a while, but then you start talking about like fighters who have had their like when he's talked about Leon Edwards' dad getting shot, I'm like, dude, like there's lines,
Yeah.
there's lines with things, and it's not even funny, not even clever. You're just being like an ass. But anyway, what are we talking about?
Well, Yuri, I don't know if you saw this, but because Alex Pereira was at the fight, he did like a interview with, I don't know if it was Megan O'Leary or who it was, but Yuri was standing there just off camera, just staring at Alex Pereira. And I was like, this dude's crazy, dude. And you know what? Like if he did change things up, I don't mind watching a third fight of that, I guess.
Not at all. Not at all.
But
He's so dangerous. That's why.
yeah.
I mean, will it probably happen the same? Like Pereira has his number because of those calf kicks, because he'll always keep him guessing. He probably has, for all the looks that he's given him, he probably has another handful of them that he can give him that hasn't even seen before. You're dealing with someone who's just been doing it so long, and then he probably looks at a guy like Yuri, and it's like, it's not an easy fight for him by any stretch, but it's one of those fights where I think he kind of knows what to expect in a lot of.
Yeah.
It's to expect the unexpected. He's going to be very herky jerky, but that a guy like Pereira, he barely has to touch you. So if he just touches your chin, and you're giving him all the force, because he's so crazy. But that one I sent you, that interview is so wild.
Oh,
did you hear him talk about?
Yeah, the guy he brought over from.
I brought 2 guys from my village.
Yeah,
and they're wild people. And then he's like, I take him. He says, I'm gonna take to my room,
and I'm gonna show him something.
Jesus, he's like, I don't know what that meant. Like, are you taking him out to dinner and that's it? Like, you weren't clear on that, man. It's confusing.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
I got so many. Oh man, yeah, I laughed really hard. That was pretty.
All right, let's.
He's so unique.
Let's get on to the next fight. We got Jelton Almeida and Sergey Spivak. Pretty great fight for Almeida, man. I think we both. I think was that the only. Besides the main event, I think that's the only one we got right. Well, I picked. Did you pick Kevin Holland?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the only one we got right then. Almeida.
Well, and Makhachev, we did nail that one, but that, yeah, we got that one. But that was pretty decent bet on that one. Makhachev to win. No, Almeida's. He's something else, because you could say he's getting more comfortable in the feet.
Yeah.
You call him an undersized heavyweight, but he's still 6'3", 235. He's still big, and he's faster than most of the fighters. And Spivak's really good too, and he's slimmed down. You can see he's not quite as big as he was in his previous fights.
Dude, Almeida looked
a good thing.
Almeida looked incredible.
Dude, he's something else.
So he's before today. Well, actually, they do the new rankings tomorrow. Which also we should mention. I don't know if you saw this, but Dana White and UFC have just said that they have a new ranking system that they're about to release, and it might be part AI and something else. I'm not sure, but so that's exciting, and I wonder how they're gonna do all that. But Almeida right now is number 6, so he's definitely getting a top 5 opponent next. So that's exciting for him, and I think they talked about Cyril Gane. Him and Cyril Gane, which would be good.
It's a great matchup if you're Almeida. I'd love that if I was his camp.
Yeah, me too.
If you can just not get your ass kicked on the feet, because Cyril Gane will put a hurting on some people on the feet, but if you can get that fight to the ground, I don't see a scenario. I don't think Gane has time to fix up the holes in his game there.
Yeah.
No disrespect, but there's so many guys that are so far ahead. Like a guy like Jelton Almeida, like you can just see it in everything he does. That dude is a technician. Jiu-jitsu wise, he's so good. And it's also, look at the size of him. To be able to have that technique and then you're that size. That's a weapon, dude. So he's someone to watch for. But we've been saying that for a while because it's true.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Yeah.
He's a definitely a, a mainstay in heavyweight for as long as he's there. Let's see what is he? He is 33, so
Oh
he's at a
wow.
good age too.
Yeah.
Definitely not old, so he's in the prime of his prime time years, especially as a heavyweight.
So what did you think of De Ritter? That was a pretty one-sided, quick fight.
It was. He's just I mean, it's no knock on him, but like, what is he? I just want to see, is he that good on the ground? Because we're gonna find out soon. Like if he gets a guy like Chimaev or something, like we're gonna find out how. Because I don't know. Maybe it's just he's so good technique wise that it's not translating to me. But I just don't know if he's gonna beat the top guys. I don't see it. Maybe. What do you think of him?
No, yeah, I just like I love Kevin Holland, but he's not an elite fighter.
Yeah, not in like a championship term at 185. So so that's what I'm kind of getting at with you. What do you think with that?
I'm just
Do you
saying,
think
like,
that?
what I was getting, I was like, I just like a submission win over Kevin Holland is not. It's impressive if you're talking to guys like me and you, but in terms of like high level fighting, I don't think it's. I need something more. Is basically what
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
getting at. You know what I mean? I want to see him fight
yeah,
someone
same.
better. And I don't know.
He's
Yeah, I
calling
don't.
for it,
But he's got
so that's
time.
good.
He's got time because I don't think Kevin Holland's not ranked, so he's got time. But he made it look easy. We'll say
He did.
that. So that's impressive, I guess. But again, like you said, I want to see him fight someone in the top 15 next. I think Kevin Holland's a good gatekeeper for that top ranked 15 in that division, the middleweight division. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I like him. I want to see more of him though.
I do too. He's calling for top five. So I mean, it's like if you get a top five guy, don't know if you might be getting too much too soon.
Well,
Like you,
yeah.
like what if you get a top five guy and you get Whitaker coming off that loss? I think Whitaker's going to come out with something to prove. That's a tough fight. Chimaev's now in the top five, right? So if you get him,
number 5 is Imavov, and he's fighting Adesanya. Okay, so
okay, and
so there you go.
Adesanya's top five as well, right?
Yeah, he's number 2.
Is he 3? 2. All right, so 2 and 5 right off the bat. There's that. So who's 3 and 4? And 1.
Chimaev
1,
and Whitaker. Sean Strickland's number 1.
Okay, 1,
But then
3,
like
4. Okay.
even all right, number 6, Caio Baralho. And then Marvin Vittori, Jared Cannonier, Brendan Allen, Dolidze,
Well,
Paulo Costa.
that'd be a good one. I don't think De Ritter can do that to Vittori.
No.
Start right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what, 7. So, that would be a good matchup. Who'd you say at 6? The name's on the tip of my tongue.
Caio
6.
Baralho.
Thank you, Baralho.
Nerds.
You're not doing it to Baralho. You're not doing it to him either. So maybe that would be a good matchup. But
Jared Cannonier is huge.
Cannonier might be the best possible matchup because Cannonier's older. He's towards the end of his career. He's probably looking for a big fight as far as like an opportunity to kind of say, hey, I'm still here.
Or that might be a good... Dolidze is a 10. Where does he usually fight? Because I know he's in 2 weight divisions, right?
He was at 205. I think he's staying down at 185, but I'm not sure. He could just take both. Why not? If you can comfortably make him still.
Yeah, but even Paulo Costa is 11.
Yeah, see, there's a lot of those names, dude. So I think
Brendan Allen.
I mean, I think De Ritter next could be, depending on who's these guys have, if they have anyone booked. But I like a matchup against Vittori, Cannonier, or I'm trying to think of the other one you said. Dolidze. But any of those guys, Dolidze, thank you, at 10. Any of those guys, I think, is a good next step. But I don't think you should be fighting Whitaker, Chimaev, anyone in the top 5 yet. I don't think he's ready quite for that, as far as the eye test. but
Yeah.
could be wrong. He could be the real deal. He's just very methodical with the way he works. But I just don't know if that methodical pace is going to work on a guy like Chimaev. He's just going to
Yeah.
maul you.
And
He's just going to maul you.
as far as Kevin Holland, I think his only goal this year is to fight like 7 times,
Yeah,
which
I
we're
think
all
he's clear.
for. Go nuts. You can fight whoever. Just fight fun fights.
Yeah,
And you know they'll
yeah.
give him ranked guys just to because he's Kevin Holland and he's exciting and he talks shit and he's awesome. You know, I'm
But you
cool
know
with
what
that.
Holland's going to do now? What he's going to do now is just be like, he's probably is going to give him a window, a time frame. It could be now, but he's probably already asking for a fight. And then he's going to save the UFC once coming up. Probably at middleweight, someone drops out and he'll be like, yeah, I'll be there. And
Yeah,
it's a short notice. Like he's probably chomping at the bit for that. And I think that's when he's kind of like the new age cowboy, where
I was
cowboy
just
always
thinking that,
thrived off of
dude.
that. Cowboy always thrived off of that, where he didn't have to think much about it. It's not a big high profile. He just has to show up and fight.
Yeah, but
And it
Cowboy was
so,
better. He was a better
but
fighter.
of course, because I get it. Like they're both, but I think it's the same mentality where
Yeah,
they're kind of like
yeah.
they have to kind of stack the deck on themselves a little bit, and then be like, oh, this is a scenario where I'm not supposed to win. So then they kind of like
They
they feel like
thrive.
yeah. I think that's when Cowboy was always the best because he would be honest about it. He would just say some days he would just wake up and not feel it,
Yeah,
and I think that's a hard thing if that's something that you feel that would be really tough to get into a it's not a game. It's a tough thing to get your mind into if you don't feel like you're quite there.
yep,
Um,
yep.
yeah, so that's he's definitely going to hit that. You figure it's perfect. January's already got one. I bet you I'd be shocked by the end of March if he doesn't already have another fight.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
So he's gonna be well on his way. I would imagine.
he's
But
probably gonna try to get on 313. I would imagine with Alex Pereira.
sure, why not? You know,
They always
he,
put
he
him
could
on the
take
big
any fight.
cards. Yeah,
He can get any fight against a lot of these guys. He'll fight anyone. So you just give him the list at the any of those, even any of those names that we mentioned.
yeah.
Just reward him for taking these fights whenever he does, but he'll have a couple big wins this year against again definitely against someone I didn't expect him to beat Jacare when that happened. That was a wild one. So it's like
Yeah.
there's certain fights these guys rise to the occasion, but no, it'd be cool to see what's next. But I would imagine it's going to be a short notice out of nowhere. But
Let's
yeah,
talk.
no,
Let's talk
that's going to
about.
be. The Ritter looked great though. He really did. The Ritter did look. Not to take anything away from him,
Yeah, yeah.
he
For
did
sure.
look great. He was calling for top 5, and I was like, I don't know. So maybe it's just more in me than anything. But no, the Ritter looked very good. So it'd be cool to see what's next for him.
Yeah. Let's talk about that Peyton Talbot one real quick, and then we'll do a quick 5-minute preview of that Saudi Arabia card. But yeah, Peyton Talbot, man, another zero gone. He looked okay though once he opened up in the last round to try to win the fight in the third round. His stand up looks great. It's just he's just a bit over his head in the ground game. That's all. And he didn't look bad on the ground. He just first of all, this guy's he looked a lot bigger than Peyton Talbot. And
He
he's
did.
just more seasoned. He's a veteran, obviously. But what did you think?
I think that's number one. He's a guy where you see his name and you're like, oh, that's not a. He's like, trying to think of the other good names. Like Gleason Tebow was one of those guys. Whereas just
Oh yeah, yeah,
they were always on. Like they might not beat the best guys, but they were always a tough fight for everyone. So I think he's one of those guys. So when I saw that, I was kind of like, oh, I wonder. I wasn't. I mean, I picked Talbot to win because I thought he was still going to win, but it is one of those ones you're not super shocked on because they are like veterans, been around, have seen a lot. They can give you kind of some things you haven't quite seen yet because you're new. But I mean, Peyton Talbot's going to be. These are the type of ones you like we just talked about in the beginning. You want to have a couple losses like this early on, so you adjust things. So you're not running into these problems against Merab or Umar or any of these guys because he's 135, right?
yeah.
He seems like Okay, 135. I wonder if he'll stay there. He just seems like someone who might not be able to. Who knows? I wonder why O'Malley's still at 130. He just seems like it'd be hard for him to stay at that weight, but these guys do. But he, you want to run into those problems and have to fix them against a guy like Barcelos versus a guy like Umar. You know, like you don't want to be learning those on the job in the moment, biggest stage of your career. It's kind of nice to yeah, you're highly touted. Everyone's talking about you, but you lost in the prelims. Okay, whatever. No one's gonna remember that 3 or 4 years from now if you become what people think you can. So
Exactly. Yeah. It's like
these
Makhachev's
are the ones that are
loss.
good.
No one cares about that.
Yeah, been knocked out once.
Yeah.
Like, this is the game you play. He's knocked out plenty. He's submitted plenty more on top of that.
Yep.
You're gonna take some lumps. You're gonna take some losses, especially at the division he's at. But
Yeah, he's got
no, I
plenty
mean,
of time. He's new. He'll figure it out. You just send him to
see what age.
Dagestan for a couple months. He'll be all right.
Yeah, he's 26. Yeah, he's 26. He's got so much time, dude. It's only gonna make him better.
Yeah.
Well,
let's preview this Saudi Arabia fight night card.
Sure.
I'll just go through the main card, and we'll talk about maybe some big fights that we are looking forward to. Obviously, the main event, you have Israel Adesanya against Nasruddin Imavov, which I'm really looking forward to that fight. I think Imavov is, well, this is obviously his biggest test. But, Adesanya, huh?
We picked that fight, one of the recordings we did.
Yeah, we did.
Or, yeah, that was cool.
And then we
were
got
talking about that.
The co-main, we have Shara Bullet versus MVP Michael Venom Page. That's an interesting fight.
We picked that fight.
I think we picked that one too. Yeah.
Oh, did we? Oh, I was kidding. But
no, I think we did though.
We are,
because 14-15, they're both stand-up guys. Then we have Pavlovich versus Rosenstrike. That's a big one.
Yes, it is.
Another Nurmagomedov, Saad versus Vinicius Oliveira.
He's dangerous, that dude. You've seen him before.
Yeah.
He's a wild fighter.
And then speaking of dangerous is Ikram Aliskerov versus Andre Muniz. That's going to be.
He's only lost to two guys. He's lost to Chimaev and Whitaker. That's it.
Jesus.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shame there.
So yeah, then other ones we got Terrence McKinney is going to fight. Mike Davis. Yeah, it should be pretty good.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the early on fights. I'm trying to see. A couple of these names don't sound super familiar, but a lot of them do. Bueno Silva, I'm surprised she's down that far. That fight probably get bumped up a little. They're up on the card, I would imagine. Against Jasmine. I would think that fight's. Hadzovic. I've seen Damir Hadzovic. He's a tough fight, so I like that matchup. Mike Davis and then Zayam, French fighter.
Oh, I've seen Zayam before. He's pretty good.
Yeah, the last fight, he beat a big name guy. His last fight. Favola, he won by knockout. That was one of them.
Oh, I watched the Herbert fight.
Herbert won. Yeah, no, he's had some. Even that Puelas, he was one of those guys everyone's been talking about. There's so many names. It's just any given night. Some of these guys are just on their own. But no, it's I'm really that main card's really cool. Let's see the top three fights on that card.
Dude, I think the biggest fight in terms of besides the main event, obviously, but Rosenstrike and Pavlovich, man. If Rosenstrike can somehow put Pavlovich out, that's a huge victory for him because he's number 9 and Pavlovich is number 4.
Big crossroads fight for both those guys. Yeah.
And I like Rosenstrike. I like him a lot, actually.
It's a good matchup for him because that's exactly what Pavlovich is probably going to try to do. More than likely stand and trade. So you figure that that's right with Rosenstrike where he wants it to be. So that fight, I really like that matchup. Same thing with Shara Bullet and Venom Page. That's a tough. I would never say it to the man because he's amazing, but Venom Page is a tough guy to fight with one eye, dude. And that's what makes it so amazing that someone fights at that level with one eye.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I can't. And that's why he has to fight in Abu Dhabi in those events, because I'm pretty sure he won't be sanctioned in a lot of places. Didn't we hear that? Or
yeah, I don't think he can fight in the U.S.
Yeah, for that reason. So it's crazy, dude. He's gonna fight Venom Page. It's like,
oh God.
Imagine if he knocks out. Imagine you knock out a guy like Michael Venom Page. You're like, imagine what I could do. Imagine what I could do with two eyes. You'd be like, dude, imagine. But I really like that, like, stylistic matchup. That's a great matchup. It's a good measuring stick to see where both guys are, really.
Yeah.
Is Venom Page really that as good as we all think?
Exactly. I think there's a lot of pressure on MVP.
Definitely, because it hasn't quite gone the way most. If you're thinking he's who we all thought. Sound like was it Dennis something, the coach for the Bears? If we really think he's as good as advertised, he hasn't quite had the success in UFC. It hasn't gone the way he probably has imagined. So, like you said, it's a big fight for him. You're fighting a guy who's undefeated too. So, does the bullet train keep rolling, Jim? What do you think early on? What are we thinking?
I don't know. We got to tune in and watch 2 weeks.
You take Izzy? You lean in Izzy?
Oh, that's a tough one too.
I'm thinking Adesanya. Probably thinking Venom Page, and I'm probably thinking I want Rosenstrike to win when we've done that one. But that early on, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh man, I don't know who's going to win that main event. I like both guys. That's the thing, and I could see them both winning.
Could be a coming out party for Imavov.
Yeah,
you win this high profile fight against a former champ like Adesanya. That's a huge feather in his cap. So you know what?
I'm gonna go Adesanya because
he looked great his last fight, even though
that's why he looked great in his last fight.
Yeah, but Imavov can do the same thing to him. I think Imavov might be able to choke him, so he has to be careful, and you have to straighten that out.
Yeah,
And
then you know what? I'm going Shower Bullet. I'm gonna go Shower Bullet.
Nice. I like it.
And then I'm gonna go. I want to see Rosenstrike win. I want to see Rosenstrike. So that's my 2 weeks out. My picks could change between now and then.
My early forecast. It's gonna snow 2 weeks from now.
All right, well let's end it there. It's good to be back, man. We'll have to do this again in a couple weeks, but it's always fun talking to you.
Absolutely.
And we got the national championship game on right now. What is it? 14-7 Ohio State?
Still? Oh, is it still that? Yeah. That was 14. 21-7 Ohio State at the half.
21-7 at the half.
What I was afraid of, but I'll watch a little bit.
Yeah.
See what the third quarter brings. But no, dude, I'm happy we're doing this again. It's always it's fun. I can't wait to get really into it. And now I can properly prepare for the next couple.
Yeah, for sure. Well, for anybody listening, if you want to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, you can follow us on our channels at Pinnacle_combat. We appreciate your support. Tell your friends, subscribe. You know how to do all that shit. Or don't. I don't give a shit. We don't care. We're just having fun out here, throwing shit.
Does it really matter?
Does anything really matter in this life? But if you do like it, tune in again at the next episode. We appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Peace. Thanks, Dan.
Absolutely. Thanks, bro. See you soon.
All right. Peace. Bye.